Hello Gecko fans, this is Wally with Supreme Gecko. Thanks for joining me today. Did you notice? She's not here anymore. She just wasn't working as hard as she used to. She was getting a little bit wobbly, to be honest. She was sagging in the middle. She was getting old. It was time for an upgrade, and I cannot wait to show you the new model. Join me. Wait a minute, what? You thought I was talking about Nanette? Nanette's still with us. She's helping out all over the place. I can't live without her. I'm not talking about Nanette. I'm talking about a new rack. The old one was just incredibly old. Let's take a look at this video. I'll show you what I mean. This old stand was over 12 years old. Check out the wood. It was getting old. Look at the spacers between the tub and the wood. Yes, the rack shelves were starting to sag. Incredibly bad. The tubs were starting to look old. The tags were getting old. It was just time for a completely new change. This was a great rack. It really served its purpose. I bet you we produced hundreds, if not thousands, of baby cresteds from the animals in this rack. But again, it was old. It was heavy. I can't tell you the last time I cleaned behind it or underneath it. It was time for a change. Now I know that you're curious to see what we went with, but I'm going to share some of the decision-making process that I went through to get to this decision. Now, if you know me, a decision like this doesn't come lightly. It doesn't come quick. It takes time. I sit down with spreadsheets. I go through the different information. I make the best decision that I possibly can. And some of the factors that came in on this decision was obviously, number one, the health and well-being of the animals. But I had lots of options available to me. I could go to the store, pick up some Exoterras, put them in, and I would be all set. I also considered going and having some custom enclosures built for me for this space. And then finally, I had the option of going back to plastic tubs. That worked for me in the past, and it's worked for me in other situations down in this facility. All of these options would have been fine for the animals. Then it came down to the cost, the weight, and the lead time for any one of these options. I finally settled on plastic tubs. This is such a great option. My animals have always done well in plastic tubs set up the right way. But I'll be honest, the main decision factor there was affordability and mobility. I really wanted to be able to move those enclosures wherever I wanted in this facility, come the situation. As a side decision, I had to decide on tops or putting them back on racks where I could just slide the tubs out without the tops. Now I know that sounds a lot easier, sliding them out without the tops, but for me I decided to keep the tops on from a let me get it in as soon as possible, and I have the time right now to be able to take those tops off, feed, clean, monitor, collect eggs, whatever I need to do. In the future, I might regret that decision. I might build another stand with racks and sliding the tubs out instead of tops. We'll see how that goes. I'll talk about the racks and the tubs and all the supplies that I needed for this build in just a moment. But let me tell you about the teardown. This was my biggest fear in the whole process. This stand had been sitting there for 12 years. Like I said earlier, I can't remember the time that I've cleaned under or behind this stand. I could not imagine what I would find back there. Would I find a bunch of deceased cricket carcasses back there? Would I find all of my pens that I've been missing for years and years? Would I find my missing cousin Arnold? I didn't know what I would find back there. Nanette and I started the teardown on a Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, and a Saturday morning during her spring break. Thank you, Nanette, again for giving up your Saturday for this. It took us 3 hours to tear this whole stand down. It was a lot of work. It was work that I wasn't looking forward to doing. This included moving all the animals, moving the decor, cleaning the decor, tearing down the rack, cleaning around that area where the rack was. Thank goodness we had Crystal to help us, or this could have taken maybe less time. I don't know. You might be asking what happened to those old tubs and the hides and the material. We saved all the cork bark. We saved the plastic plants. We tossed the tubs and all of the hides, just got rid of them. And thank goodness for that wet dry vac. We sucked up all those dead cricket carcasses. Couldn't find my missing cousin Arnold. We found a lot of spiders. And they were the spiders that were big and furry with fangs and, oh, let's move on. Let's go ahead and jump in that Wayback Machine and go back about a month or so. The fun part of this was the planning. I knew the space that I had to work with. I knew pretty much what I wanted to do with that space. I wanted 2 separate racks, not one big long one. I didn't want to build another rack out of wood, so I started shopping around for metal racks. Now, let me go ahead and tell you a secret, and don't tell Nanette about this, but I planned for that space to have 2 separate racks. I knew the number of enclosures, number of tubs that I wanted on those racks, but I also planned that space just like the libraries where you have the bookcases, one on end of another one where you could just move those bookcases out and work on either side of the bookcases. I planned the racks to be the same way. They would be one backed up to another one, but then 2 in front of those so that I could move those out and work on all 4 racks at the same time. But that's in the future. Let's talk about the 2 racks that I went with. I had just enough room for 2 racks back to back. Now that's 48 inches plus 48 inches, standard size racks. The width of the racks are 18 wide. The height is, I believe it's 72, it might be 76. I'll have to go back and check. With these 2 racks, I would have 5 shelves on both racks. That's 10 shelves. I thought that I could get 2 tubs per rack. So 2 times 5 is 10, and then another rack is 20 tubs. So that would replace the old rack that I had there. I did some quick calculations to determine the height of every shelf, went back to Amazon and started looking around for the size of the tubs. And I knew that they had to be less than 24 inches and less than 18 inches, and I knew that they had to be a certain height. I found what I consider to be a pretty good deal on these tubs. 8 of them for under $80. These are 56 quarts. This will be plenty of room for an individual crested gecko or a pair. And we do keep our pairs together most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. It's worked out very, very well for us. Back online I went looking for vents. I knew the size of the vent that I wanted. I knew that I didn't want to do the old hot glue screening type of enclosures again. I wanted a vent already done, drill a hole, put the vent in, and be done with it. And these vents are very, very important in this whole setup, and I'll show you why in just a moment. For the decor, I'm going to use the old cork bark, wash it off, and use it in the new enclosures. I might use the old plants. I might go out and get fresh new plastic plants as well. On to the hides. Here we go to the dollar store. I needed 20 hides, found them 3 per dollar, or what is it now, $1.25. Brought them home, drilled out the holes, and I'm using peat moss in these hides. I think that that's going to work very, very well for the hides. It'll hold the humidity. It will allow really nice egg laying ability in these hides. I'm also using egg crate for right now. This has worked well in the past. We'll see how it goes in these new enclosures. I might try something a little bit different. For right now, it's egg cartons. So the egg cartons go in, the cork bark, the plastic plants, the hide, we're all set. Oh, one more thing. We have to label these tubs. For the labels, 2 racks. So I started the first rack with A, the second rack with B, A 1 through 10, and B 1 through 10 for the tub numbers. We also printed off all new Crested Gecko names for the tubs just to make it look nice. What do you think? Should we look at one of the tubs? Let me grab one right now. Again, we see the tub lettering. We see the animal's name. It has a top, but this is how quick it is to work with these tubs. Tub comes off, or the top comes off. The food goes in. I take a look at the animals. I can check the hide. It's really that simple. Tops goes back on. Tub goes back on the shelf. Pretty quick and easy. I think this will work. Oh, that's right. 2 more things. First, I want to show you why I use these vents. I absolutely love the size of the holes in these vents so that I can mist out these enclosures in probably less than 30 seconds to do all 20. One of the concerns that I had was crickets coming up and getting out of these holes. I don't think they can climb this plastic. So we'll see. Maybe one day I'll have a room full of crickets, and then I'll have to change the vent size. Also, and the last step to finish this whole process, I'm going to create QR codes. I'm going to put them on the tubs. I'm going to put them on the hides as well, so that when we have eggs, I can take the hide out, I can collect the eggs, put the eggs away, and I can take my phone and scan that QR code to indicate that I have 2 eggs from that pair. But we'll talk about that in a later video. I might even do a video for members only on our Buy Me a Coffee page. Make sure you check out that. The link is in the first comment down below. This was really a fun process to go through. I think it looks a lot nicer. What do you think? Leave a comment down below and tell me if you think you could use racks like this. And if you want to see the details of the full build, we did a rack exactly the same way for our cave geckos. I'll throw the link up here so you can watch that video right now. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next video.